They told you that long life lives in expensive bottles. They told you it hides in secret formulas, rare herbs, and complicated routines. But what if the truth is quieter? What if the path to 100 years old begins not in a laboratory, but in your kitchen? Listen carefully. Longevity is not built on hype. It is built on discipline, on repetition, on the small, unglamorous choices made every single day. The Stoics taught that greatness is not an event, it is a habit. And so is survival. You want to live to 100. Then stop chasing miracles. Start honoring the ordinary. Because the foods that protect your heart, sharpen your mind, and strengthen your body are not exotic. They are simple, timeless, almost boring. Leafy greens, beans, whole grains, nuts, olive oil, fruit, clean water. Not what you expected, is it? There is no magic powder, no hidden chemical, no extreme diet, just consistency. The body does not demand luxury, it demands stability. Leafy greens carry quiet power. Spinach, kale, arugula. They reduce inflammation, protect your cells, and nourish your blood. They do not shout. They work silently. Beans, humble, inexpensive, overlooked, are warriors of longevity. They feed your muscles, balance your blood sugar, and sustain energy without chaos. They are the food of civilizations that lived long before supplements existed. Whole grains give steady fuel, not spikes, not crashes, stability. And stability is the language of a long life. Nuts and seeds, small but mighty, guard the heart. A handful a day teaches restraint and nourishment at the same time. Olive oil, liquid gold, protects your arteries and calms inflammation. A simple drizzle, repeated daily, becomes protection compounded over decades. And fruit, real fruit, is nature's reminder that sweetness does not have to destroy you. This is not glamorous advice. That is precisely why it works. The Stoic mind understands something powerful. What is sustainable wins. Let me tell you a story. There was a man in a small coastal village. He did not count calories. He did not own a smartwatch. He never followed a trend. Every morning he ate oats with nuts and fruit. Every afternoon, beans with vegetables and olive oil. In the evenings, soup, bread, and more greens. He walked daily. He rested well. He complained little. When he turned 90, people asked him his secret. He laughed. "There is no secret," he said. "I just never stopped doing the simple things." At 100, he still walked to the market. What saved him was not intensity. It was repetition. You see, the body rewards rhythm. When you eat whole, natural foods every day, you lower inflammation. The silent destroyer behind heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive decline. You stabilize blood sugar. You protect your arteries. You feed your microbiome, that invisible army inside your gut that controls immunity and mood. And here is the truth most people avoid. Longevity is less about what you add, and more about what you remove. Remove excess sugar, remove ultra-processed food, remove constant overeating, remove chaos from your plate. The Stoics practice temperance for a reason. Overindulgence weakens the body and the will. If you want to reach 100, eat until you are satisfied, not stuffed. Stop before fullness becomes regret. Discipline is love in action. Every time you choose beans over fast food, you are choosing decades. Every time you choose water over soda, you are choosing clarity. Every time you cook instead of ordering, you are choosing control. You do not need perfection. You need persistence. The tragedy is not that people lack knowledge. The tragedy is that they underestimate simplicity. The world profits from your confusion, but your body thrives on clarity. Eat plants daily, eat fiber daily, eat healthy fats daily, hydrate daily, move daily, sleep deeply. Do this not for 6 weeks. Do it for 6 decades. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, you have power over your mind, not outside events. The same is true for your health. You cannot control genetics entirely. You cannot control time, but you can control what enters your mouth. That is power. Living to 100 is not about chasing youth. It is about preserving function, strong legs, clear thoughts, a steady heart. Independence. And independence is dignity. The foods I named will not make headlines. They will not promise miracles, but they will quietly reduce your risk of chronic disease, support your metabolism, and protect your brain. And when repeated daily, quiet actions become extraordinary outcomes. Ask yourself, can you commit to a bowl of beans, a handful of nuts, a plate filled with greens, a drizzle of olive oil instead of butter, water instead of sugar? Not for motivation, for discipline. Because motivation fades, discipline remains. The path to 100 is not dramatic, it is deliberate. Do not wait for a diagnosis to change. Do not wait for fear to wake you up. Act while you are strong enough to choose. One meal will not save you, but thousands of disciplined meals will. One walk will not transform you, but 20,000 walks over decades will. Longevity is not a lottery ticket. It is a contract you sign daily. And here is the beautiful truth. The same foods that help you live longer also help you live better now. Better energy, better focus, better digestion, better mood. This is not about surviving to 100. It is about arriving there with strength. The body keeps score. Every bite is a vote. Every day is a deposit. You do not need something extraordinary. You need something consistent. Eat simply, live deliberately, repeat daily. And let time reward your discipline. They search for rare formulas while ignoring the power sitting quietly on their plates. They scroll past simplicity because it does not glitter. Yet the body has never required extravagance to survive a century. It has always required rhythm, restraint, and repetition. Discipline in the ordinary is not glamorous. It does not trend. It does not promise transformation in 30 days. But it builds something far more valuable than excitement. It builds endurance. And endurance is the currency of a long life. To live long is not to chase extremes. It is to master consistency. The human body thrives on patterns. When you feed it real nourishment daily, not occasionally, not emotionally, not impulsively, it adapts, repairs, and strengthens. But when you shock it with chaos, excess sugar, processed chemicals, and overindulgence, it inflames, deteriorates, and weakens over time. The tragedy of modern living is not ignorance. It is impatience. People want dramatic solutions because discipline feels too simple to be powerful. But simplicity, when repeated for decades, becomes unstoppable. Think of leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula. They are not exciting. They will not give you an adrenaline rush. Yet they quietly supply magnesium for your muscles, folate for your cells, antioxidants that defend your arteries. They reduce the silent inflammation that slowly narrows blood vessels and clouds the brain. Eat them once and nothing dramatic happens. Eat them daily for 40 years, and your heart quietly thanks you. Beans, humble, inexpensive, overlooked, are a pillar of endurance. They stabilize blood sugar, preventing the violent spikes and crashes that exhaust your pancreas. They nourish your gut microbiome, that invisible community inside you that governs immunity, digestion, even mood. Fiber feeds the good bacteria. Good bacteria reduce inflammation. Reduced inflammation preserves organs. Preservation extends life. Whole grains offer steady energy rather than chaos. The body does not crave drama. It craves stability. Stable blood sugar protects nerves. Stable energy protects discipline. When you remove refined carbohydrates and choose grains in their natural state, you are not dieting, you are choosing longevity. Nuts and seeds teach moderation. A handful is enough. They are dense with healthy fats that protect arteries and calm systemic inflammation. They train you in restraint because they require awareness. Discipline is not denial. It is intelligent proportion. Olive oil used wisely becomes medicine in motion. It supports heart health, improves cholesterol balance, and reduces oxidative stress. It is not about drowning food in oil. It is about measured use. A drizzle, not a flood. The Stoic understands measure. Fruit offers sweetness without destruction. Nature packages sugar with fiber, water, and phytonutrients. It satisfies without corrupting. When you choose fruit over processed desserts, you are not punishing yourself. You are choosing clarity over compulsion. These foods are not magical alone. Their power lies in repetition. Discipline in the ordinary means you eat them not when inspired, but when indifferent. Not when motivated, but when tired, especially when tired. The Stoic mindset does not wait for emotion to cooperate. It acts according to principle. If health is a principle, then daily nourishment is non-negotiable. Longevity is built on reduced inflammation. Most chronic diseases, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, share a common root: chronic low-grade inflammation. It does not scream, it whispers. It builds quietly through years of poor food choices, stress, and inactivity. Ordinary discipline interrupts that process. When you consistently eat fiber-rich plants, you reduce inflammatory markers. When you limit ultra-processed foods, you decrease oxidative damage. When you avoid overeating, you reduce metabolic strain. These are not dramatic acts. They are disciplined repetitions. Even portion control is an act of ordinary mastery. To stop eating when satisfied rather than stuffed is a skill. It requires awareness. It requires pause. It requires you to listen to the body instead of appetite alone. Over decades, moderate eating reduces the burden on organs, preserves insulin sensitivity, and prevents unnecessary weight gain. The difference between mild excess and restraint may determine the difference between vitality and disease in old age. Water, so basic that it is ignored, is another discipline. Hydration supports circulation, kidney function, digestion, cognitive clarity. Choosing water over sugary beverages daily is not a small decision. It is a cumulative investment. But discipline in the ordinary is not limited to food. It extends to movement. Walking daily may appear insignificant compared to intense workouts. Yet walking consistently improves cardiovascular health, strengthens bones, maintains joint mobility, and stabilizes mood. The body was built to move rhythmically, not sporadically. Sleep, too, is an ordinary discipline. Going to bed at a reasonable hour does not feel heroic. But deep sleep repairs cells, consolidates memory, regulates hormones. Chronic sleep deprivation accelerates aging. Adequate rest slows it. Choosing sleep over late night stimulation is a quiet but powerful declaration of priorities. The extraordinary outcome, living to 90, 95, even 100 with clarity and independence, emerges from these repeated ordinary acts. People underestimate the compound effect of small habits. They imagine longevity requires sacrifice beyond reach. In reality, it requires alignment. Eating simply is not deprivation, it is alignment with biology. Your ancestors did not survive on synthetic food. They thrived on what grew from soil and walked the earth. Modern convenience introduced abundance without boundaries. Discipline reintroduces boundaries. Consider the mathematics of consistency. If you eat one nourishing meal, you benefit briefly. If you eat 3 nourishing meals daily for 50 years, you accumulate over 50,000 protective acts. Each one slightly lowers risk, slightly improves resilience, slightly supports repair. Small percentages compounded over decades become enormous differences. The body remembers patterns. It adapts to what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly consume excess sugar, it adapts toward insulin resistance. If you repeatedly nourish it with fiber and healthy fats, it adapts toward metabolic flexibility. Adaptation determines aging speed. Discipline in the ordinary also builds mental resilience. When you master daily food choices, you strengthen willpower. When you resist impulsive indulgence, you train the mind to tolerate discomfort. That mental resilience spills into other areas: stress management, emotional control, decision making. Longevity is not only physical, it is psychological. Stress accelerates aging. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, increases inflammation, disrupts sleep. Ordinary discipline, balanced meals, consistent movement, structured rest buffers stress. It creates stability. Stability protects the nervous system. There is dignity in simplicity. A person who cooks basic, wholesome meals exercises agency. They are not enslaved by cravings or marketing. They understand that control over appetite is control over destiny. Discipline does not mean rigidity. It means reliability. You can enjoy celebrations. You can share dessert occasionally. But the foundation remains stable. Extraordinary longevity does not collapse because of occasional indulgence. It collapses because of daily neglect. The mind often resists ordinary actions because they lack excitement. Yet excitement is not required for effectiveness. Brushing your teeth is not thrilling, but you do it to preserve them. Eating nourishing food daily follows the same logic. A century of life is not granted in a single decision. It is earned in thousands of quiet moments when you choose wisely despite convenience pulling you elsewhere. Even digestion reflects discipline. A fiber-rich diet improves bowel health, reduces colon disease risk, and supports detoxification. A balanced microbiome strengthens immunity, reducing infections that can become dangerous with age. These systems operate silently until they fail. Ordinary discipline keeps them functioning. Bones, too, respond to daily nourishment. Leafy greens supply calcium and vitamin K. Nuts provide magnesium. Beans provide plant protein. Over decades, consistent intake strengthens skeletal integrity, reducing fractures in later life. Fractures in old age often begin a cascade of decline. Prevention begins decades earlier with simple meals. Brain health is deeply connected to diet. Antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables protect neurons from oxidative stress. Healthy fat supports cellular membranes. Stable blood sugar prevents cognitive fog and long-term damage. The mind you wish to preserve at 95 is shaped by what you eat at 45. It is tempting to search for a singular breakthrough, a pill, a superfood, a hidden compound. But health rarely hinges on a single ingredient. It rests on patterns. Discipline creates those patterns. There is also moral strength in ordinary discipline. It teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not above biological law. You cannot negotiate with excess forever. You either align with the body's needs or face its consequences. Longevity is not about avoiding death. It is about delaying deterioration. The goal is not merely to add years, but to protect function. Strong legs to walk. Clear eyes to read. Steady hands to hold grandchildren. These capacities depend on daily nourishment. The beauty of ordinary discipline is accessibility. You do not need wealth to eat beans. You do not need fame to walk daily. You do not need luxury to drink water. The path to extraordinary longevity is available to anyone willing to commit. It requires patience. Results are invisible at first. You will not feel arteries clearing. You will not feel inflammation decreasing. But the absence of disease decades later is evidence of earlier restraint. Discipline in the ordinary creates trust between you and your body. It learns that you will not harm it repeatedly. It responds with resilience. You do not rise to extraordinary longevity through dramatic gestures. You arrive there through ordinary loyalty to health. Every meal is an opportunity. Every grocery choice is a vote. Every refusal to overindulge is a strengthening of character. In a world addicted to extremes, choose steadiness. In a culture obsessed with novelty, choose repetition. In a marketplace selling miracles, choose discipline. The extraordinary life of 100 years is not built in laboratories or on trends. It is built in kitchens, on sidewalks, in bedrooms where sleep is honored, in moments where restraint overrides impulse. Discipline in the ordinary is not small. It is the most powerful force in long-term survival. And those who embrace it quietly build a future that others will call remarkable, even though it was constructed from nothing more than simple choices repeated faithfully across a lifetime. The world glorifies intensity. It celebrates dramatic transformations, extreme diets, punishing workouts, and overnight reinventions. But the body does not reward intensity the way the ego does. The body rewards consistency. And if your goal is to reach 100 years with strength, clarity, and independence, you must understand this principle deeply. What you do occasionally has little power. What you do daily has unstoppable influence. Intensity excites you. Consistency protects you. A week of perfect eating cannot erase years of neglect. A month of extreme exercise cannot undo decades of inactivity. The human system responds not to bursts, but to patterns. It adapts to repetition. It shapes itself around your habits. When you choose a steady rhythm of nourishment, movement, rest, and moderation, you build a foundation that can endure time. When you swing between discipline and excess, motivation and burnout, you exhaust your system, and exhaustion accelerates aging. The Stoic mindset rejects drama. It embraces steady effort. It understands that the oak tree does not grow in a storm of intensity. It grows through seasons of quiet persistence. Consider food. Many people attempt radical dietary changes. They eliminate entire food groups overnight. They starve themselves in pursuit of rapid results. They push their bodies into extremes. And eventually they collapse. They return to old habits with greater force. This cycle of intensity followed by surrender damages metabolism, hormones, and self-trust. But the person who simply commits to eating whole, balanced meals every day, not perfectly, but reliably, builds metabolic stability. Stable blood sugar protects organs. Stable energy protects decision-making. Over decades, this stability reduces the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive decline. The difference between someone who lives to 70 in decline and someone who reaches 100 with vitality is often not talent or genetics alone. It is habit endurance. Walking 30 minutes every day may seem insignificant compared to running a marathon once a year. But daily walking improves circulation, strengthens the heart, maintains muscle tone, preserves joint mobility, and reduces stress. Over 40 years, those walks accumulate into thousands of miles. That is not small. That is transformative. Intensity often leads to injury. Consistency builds resilience. The same principle applies to strength. You do not need to lift extreme weights to preserve muscle into old age. You need regular resistance. Modest, repeated effort signals the body to maintain muscle mass and bone density. Without consistent signals, the body conserves energy by shrinking strength. Muscle loss leads to frailty. Frailty shortens independence. Independence is what you are fighting to preserve at 100. Sleep follows the same law. One night of deep rest cannot repair months of deprivation, but a consistent sleep schedule regulates hormones, supports immune function, and repairs cellular damage. Growth hormone release, memory consolidation, tissue repair, these processes thrive on rhythm. Disruption accelerates where consistency is quiet. It does not demand applause, but it compounds like interest. Think of inflammation as a small fire. Intense, unhealthy behaviors, binge eating, chronic stress, sleep loss, throw gasoline on it. Then, a week of clean living attempts to extinguish it. The cycle repeats. The fire never fully disappears. But consistent, healthy habits slowly remove the fuel. They reduce the sparks. Over time, the fire weakens. That reduction in chronic inflammation protects arteries, brain cells, and metabolic pathways. Consistency also shapes identity. When you practice daily discipline, you begin to see yourself differently. You are no longer someone who tries to be healthy. You are someone who lives health. This shift in identity makes future discipline easier. Intensity relies on emotion. Consistency relies on principle. Emotions fluctuate, principles endure. There is a psychological calm in consistency. You do not wake up negotiating with yourself. You do not rely on motivation to decide whether to nourish your body or move it. The decision has already been made. This reduces mental fatigue. Reduced mental stress protects cognitive longevity. Stress management itself depends on steady habits. Meditation once in crisis cannot balance chronic anxiety, but 5 or 10 minutes daily can gradually retrain the nervous system. Slow breathing lowers cortisol. Lower cortisol reduces inflammation. Reduced inflammation supports heart and brain health. The chain reaction begins with repetition. Nutrition, movement, sleep, stress control, each becomes powerful only when steady. Even hydration demonstrates this truth. Drinking excessive water in one sitting does not compensate for days of dehydration. But consistent water intake supports kidney function, circulation, and cellular processes continuously. Cells function best in balance, not extremes. The body fears chaos. It thrives on predictability. Many people sabotage longevity by chasing intensity because it feels heroic. They equate suffering with effectiveness. But suffering without sustainability is wasteful. If a habit cannot be maintained for decades, it cannot be the foundation of a 100-year life. Moderation sustained is stronger than intensity abandoned. Consider cultural patterns in regions where people frequently reach advanced ages. Their routines are not extreme. They eat balanced portions. They move naturally throughout the day. They maintain social connections. They rest. They repeat. There is no obsession with dramatic reinvention. There is commitment to rhythm. Your metabolism prefers balance. Extreme calorie restriction slows it. Extreme overeating burdens it. But consistent, moderate nourishment teaches it efficiency. Insulin sensitivity remains intact. Energy production remains stable. Organs are not overworked. Consistency over intensity also preserves mental clarity. The brain depends on stable glucose levels, quality fats, and adequate sleep. Dramatic fluctuations, sugar highs, crash dieting, sleep deprivation create cognitive fog. Chronic fog accelerates decline. Stability protects neurons. Disciplined practice daily becomes automatic. Automatic behaviors require less willpower. This is essential for longevity because willpower weakens under stress and age. But habit remains. Intensity often breeds pride. Pride can blind you to warning signs, fatigue, injury, imbalance. Consistency encourages humility. It invites adjustment without abandonment. If you miss one day of walking, consistency urges you to return the next day. Intensity whispers that since perfection is broken, effort is pointless. That mindset destroys progress. Longevity demands forgiveness without surrender. You will have imperfect days. You will eat carelessly at times. You will skip movement occasionally. Consistency means you resume without drama. You do not spiral, you continue. This emotional steadiness reduces stress, which itself is a major contributor to aging. Chronic emotional turbulence releases hormones that damage cardiovascular and immune systems. Calm persistence protects them. Small improvements maintained over decades outperform dramatic transformations that last months. A modest reduction in sugar daily may prevent insulin resistance. A consistent bedtime may preserve cognitive sharpness. A daily walk may prevent stiffness that leads to falls later in life. Falls in advanced age often mark a turning point toward decline. Muscle strength and balance preserved through consistent movement reduce that risk. The preparation begins years before the fall would occur. Even social connection thrives on consistency. Calling a friend weekly strengthens emotional resilience. Sharing meals regularly builds community. Loneliness accelerates mortality. Regular connection counters it. Consistency shapes your environment as well. When your kitchen regularly contains whole foods, healthy decisions become easier. When your schedule routinely includes movement, excuses weaken. Environment aligned with principle reduces friction. There is power in lowering the threshold of action. Instead of committing to extreme workouts, commit to daily movement, however small. Instead of strict diets, commit to balanced plates daily. These manageable commitments survive busy seasons and difficult periods. Time is impartial. It rewards repeated actions without emotion. It does not care about your bursts of motivation. It magnifies patterns. The person who eats moderately every day for 50 years may never feel extraordinary. But at 95, they may still walk unassisted. The person who alternates between extremes may struggle decades earlier. The nervous system ages according to stress load. Intense overtraining stresses it. Consistent moderate exercise strengthens it. The difference lies in sustainability. Consistency teaches patience. Patience reduces impulsive behavior. Impulsivity often leads to harmful decisions, overeating, substance abuse, sleep neglect. Patience reinforces measured choices. The liver, heart, pancreas, and brain all respond to steady care. They deteriorate under chronic abuse. Occasional repair cannot fully reverse accumulated damage. But preventing damage through steady habits is far more effective than trying to undo it later. You cannot negotiate with biology. You can only align with it. A century of life is built from approximately 36,500 days. Each day offers small choices. You will not remember most of them. But your body will. It records patterns in arteries, in neurons, in bone density. Consistency over intensity means you choose habits that you can repeat even when enthusiasm fades. It means you respect limits. It means you prioritize longevity over ego. The Stoic does not seek applause for dramatic sacrifice. He seeks mastery over self, mastery over appetite, mastery over laziness, mastery over excess. That mastery is exercised daily, not annually. Intensity often leads to burnout. Burnout leads to abandonment. Abandonment leads to regression. Regression shortens health span. Consistency avoids the cycle entirely. Even mental growth depends on repetition. Reading regularly strengthens cognition. Learning continuously builds neural connections. The brain, like muscle, weakens without use. Consistent stimulation preserves mental agility into old age. Longevity is not accidental. It is patterned. If you want to reach 100, think not in weeks, but in decades. Ask yourself what habits you can maintain for the rest of your life. Choose those. Refine them. Repeat them. The miracle is not in a single powerful action. It is in thousands of modest ones. Consistency builds trust between you and your future self. Each disciplined day is a message forward in time. I am preparing the path for you. And preparation, repeated faithfully, becomes protection. You have heard the truth. Not a dramatic secret. Not a miracle hidden in a capsule. But a principle that has stood the test of time. Long life is built quietly. Extraordinary longevity does not come from intensity. It comes from discipline in the ordinary. From choosing simple, nourishing foods again and again. From walking when it would be easier to sit. From sleeping when the world tempts you to stay awake. From drinking water instead of sugar. From stopping before excess becomes damage. The body listens to repetition. It adapts to patterns. Every balanced meal lowers silent inflammation. Every consistent step strengthens the heart. Every night of true rest repairs what time tries to weaken. These actions may feel small in a single day, but over decades they become a fortress. Living to 100 is not about chasing youth. It is about preserving function. Strong legs, a clear mind, a steady heartbeat, independence, dignity, and those are protected not by extremes, but by steadiness. You do not need perfection. You need persistence. You do not need intensity. You need consistency. When discipline becomes your daily companion, health becomes your long-term reward. Time will pass whether you prepare or not. The question is simple: will your daily habits build strength or slowly invite decline? Choose the ordinary with commitment. Choose repetition with patience. Choose moderation with courage. And allow those quiet decisions to shape a future of resilience. Your longevity begins today, not with excitement, but with resolve. Thank you for listening. May you live with strength, clarity, and purpose. God bless you.